Hello everyone and welcome to Harminga. Are you feeling stressed? Are you busier than ever? Are you having a hard time disconnecting and unwinding? Then take inspiration from the ancient peoples of Northern Europe and learn to Kura, the beautiful mindfulness technique that literally creates a better work-life balance. It is no news that our modern society and lifestyle is unnatural and makes us ill. We spend 90% of our time indoors, and 60% of adults report that they sometimes feel too busy to enjoy life. The demands of modern life could have a hugely negative effect both on your mental and physical well-being. We live our lives at 100 miles per hour. Most of us feel busier than ever, burned out, our bodies are more out of shape than ever, and our brains are more frazzled than ever. Sometimes there's so much to get done or to think about that it feels like our minds might overflow. Today's fast-paced world and our overly productive, overly scheduled modern lifestyle is simply taking a toll on us. Many people also wear their hectic schedules as if they were medals of achievement. It's good to stay busy and in motion, but very often people don't know what difference their jobs, duties, and appointments really make. They just know it looks good to be busy. The Western world often equates busyness with success, no matter what this busyness means and leads to. Social media, of course, plays a significant role in perpetuating this busy culture. With a smartphone, you can show off how good you are and what a perfect life you have 24/7. Tech sure makes life easier, but being constantly connected, visible and accessible gives the feeling that you mustn't stop. There's no end, no break, no leaving work at the office until tomorrow. With these high demands, culturally encouraged busyness and being constantly accessible and visible, it's close to impossible to disconnect and slow down. And with this comes anxiety and feelings of guilt. It's essential to re-evaluate our relationship with business and prioritize work-life balance. So, one way to improve this balance is to add a clear marker between work and free time or downtime. One such marker is to take up the ancient Nordic and Germanic tradition of Kura. First of all, we are not supposed to constantly look back and regress to old times. Instead, we should live here and now and strive to develop. That's what our ancestors did. But we should do so in a smarter and healthier way. Let's do that by being inspired by our ancestors. So, Kura, the Swedish term, literally means huddle at dusk or crouching in twilight. It is the ancient Nordic and Germanic tradition of acknowledging that the workday is over, a wholesome and natural little mindfulness practice. It's not an activity so much as a state of being, lingering quietly as light fades, doing little but being present. It's easy to practice even for the stressed people of today. For our ancestors' work, at least their main work, ended at sunset or dusk, not the least since lack of light made working complicated. People also wanted to wait as long as possible before lighting a fire or candles in order to save fuel. This was also when people returned from the fields, from the forests, or wherever labor took place. This physical and temporal distance gave the perfect opportunity for a moment of peace and quiet. a natural little break while the sun was setting and before the evening lights were lit. When the day's work was finished, people seized the opportunity to unwind, let the body and mind come to peace while watching the sun go down. In a sense, a northern version of the Italian dolce far niente. So Kura skymning is an in-between, a natural border and sanctuary between two states or conditions. Very important for disconnecting and shifting focus. Some used this time to sit down and rest. Some contemplated and reflected. Remember that meditation is definitely not exclusive for the East. Or they sat in silence with a hot beverage. People shared experiences from the day and they told stories. So what can we do? Well, let's take a look at what the Nordic peoples used to do, and we can try to adapt that to our own everyday life. So first, some indoor activities. In farmhouses, families would sit together on benches by the window, not lighting lamps until the last possible moment, letting their eyes adjust to the dim light. A small oil lamp or candle might be lit on the table only after the room grew nearly dark, often with reverence, a symbolic act marking the shift from day's work to evening rest. And people would stop their handwork, spinning, mending, carving, etc., and simply sit still, talking softly or not at all. Older people might tell short folk tales, legends or riddles, their voices blending with the growing shadows. A pot of hot beverage would be set to brew slowly on the wood stove, its aroma filling the room as conversation turned to the weather, the forest or family memories. Someone might stroke the cat by the fire or feed the last wood into the stove before the night chill settled. And then we have some outdoor activities. In summer, people might sit on a porch or doorstep, watching the sun linger low, colors shifting from gold to blue, listening to the birds quieting. In autumn, one might wrap a woolen shawl or blanket around the shoulders and sit on the steps with a mug of tea. Well, probably not tea until later in time, but you get the drill. Watching mist rise from fields or lakes. Fishermen and farmers often paused at the end of their work, standing silently, leaning on a rake or an oar, watching the last light fade from the horizon. In coastal areas, families might walk slowly along the beach at dusk, listening to the waves, saying little. In the far north, during the darker months, people would perhaps light a lantern outside the house or barn, a small flame in the dark, and linger beside it, a gesture of both beauty and comfort. And let's also look at some communal and domestic moments. On farms, children were taught to be still during Kura skymning, to sit quietly beside their elders and listen to the silence. In villages, neighbors might visit each other's porches for a few minutes of rest at dusk, sharing a bit of tobacco or a piece of flatbread. Well, also like tobacco later in time. Or they had a short conversation before night fell. In the 19th century, when kerosene lamps were precious, Kura skymning was also practical. People waited to light the lamps to save oil, but over time, the quiet pause itself became a valued ritual. In modern cottages and summer houses, it continues. People turn off phones, dim lights, and watch the evening gather through large windows, sometimes in silence, sometimes with some gentle music. And some other contemporary echoes. Today, Swedes might sit in candlelight with a glass of wine or tea, watching dusk through the kitchen window or from a lakeside dock. Norwegians at their mountain cabins bundle up in wool sweaters. They step outside and breathe the cooling air as the day ebbs away. Finns might sit in the sauna's afterglow, freshly washed, gazing at the twilight through a small window. Icelanders and Danes might light a single candle on the windowsill, an echo of old customs of warmth and presence in the encroaching dark. And the Danes also have their actually world-famous hygge culture. Very important and very nice. Can talk about that in another video. Skymning is, in the end, the art of doing almost nothing, but doing it with care and presence. It's the moment when the world quiets, the mind settles, and one simply exists between light and darkness. Hands folded, a cat purring nearby, the scent of wood smoke in the air, the last golden threads of daylight slipping away. It's actually, it's also a perfect way to socialize in a calm and natural way. Sometimes we very often forget to do with our friends and family. So I encourage you to find your own best practice and make this a habit to better distinguish between work and free time. A small step towards a healthier and more dharmic everyday life. Can be anything, very simple. And let us know how you've spent your time skymning.
Hi everyone, this is Brett from Australia. Just about to do huddle at dusk. Huddle at dusk to me is a time to settle, let the workday go, and to just find the silence and the stillness.